It's December 1953. Christmas is approaching and the Plaza Hotel is bustling with high-level executives. Eager to offset some recent upheaval, CEOs from within the very lucrative tobacco industry had gathered together for a meeting of the minds. You see, these executives had hit a buzz. Science, it seems, had begun to find a causal relationship between tobacco and lung cancer. Consumers were starting to feel uncertain and CEOs were worried about their profit margins. A plan was needed. They realised that denying scientific facts would be a losing battle. So in a clever move, these moneymakers decided to align themselves as great supporters of science. In fact, guided by a clever public relations company, the Goldman came to be such avid supporters of science that the very nature of science became their best PR attack. You see, the very nature of science was based on proving or disproving facts. And these boss men, they knew there would always be skeptics. So the tobacco men called for more research and offered more funding to science. Now in hindsight, we know this was not to get the truth per se, but to give them the license to control the narrative by finding the very brightest minds who were skeptics to challenge the data on the negative effects of tobacco. Now, there were 5 major companies that engaged and funded a PR campaign. They even funded the Tobacco Industry Research Committee. The appointed CEO of the TRIC even published this. It is an obligation of the Tobacco Industry Research Committee at this time to remind the public of these essential points. 1, there is no conclusive scientific proof between smoking and cancer. 2, medical research points to many possible orders of cancer. And 3, the millions of people who derive satisfaction and pleasure from smoking can be reassured that every scientific means will be used to get all the facts as soon as possible. Now in 1961, as a result of this manipulation of the media, law and politics, tobacco sales rose from 369 billion to 488 billion. Despite the categorical scientific data and research findings on the negative effects of tobacco, acceptance of smoking rose and was considered by all to be normal. This lie propagated the tobacco industry and continued for well over 40 years. By waging a public relations campaign that created scepticism of the damage, was something that was scientifically killing people was minimised. Now today, we shake our heads. How could our mums and our dads, our nuns and our pops willingly engage in something designed to kill them? It's outrageous. We think we're smarter. We think we wouldn't succumb into such ploys. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Normal, right? This is how we socialise. This is our norm. It's how we meet people, it's how we date, it's even how we learn. We find new ideas, new businesses, new haircuts, new influences, new everything. In 2021, Stanford Medicine published an article titled Addictive Potential of Social Media. The article is a Q&A with Stanford psychiatrist Anna Levke. Dr. Levke articulates the intrinsically linked modern-day dopamine kicks with the dopamine party created by social media. Dopamine, a chemical reaction secreted from nerve cells in the brain, occurs when we have a rewarding experience. Basically, it makes us feel good. So in a shocking metaphor, Dr. Lemke compared social media to a heroin injection needle. The hit is fast and addictive. Bright colours, flashing lights, ongoing notifications and alerts, and the quantity is infinite. It never, ever runs out. She notes that humans, all of us, are wired for connection. In fact, one of our strongest dopamine releases is connection. But, and there is a huge but, that is that we don't actually have to speak or engage with anyone, is what makes us incredibly susceptible and vulnerable to consumption compulsively. Keyword, compulsively. Back in 1954, our mums and our dads, our nuns and our pops, they were lied to, tricked by corporate giants. It is excruciating to see that with the law would still be vulnerable to the corporate lies of years gone by, and vulnerability extends so much further. In 2024, artificial intelligence algorithms learn than we've liked before by suggesting new things that are similar but not exactly the same. And in turn, we elect scrolling mindlessly for hours and hours upon end. But lost time is over the beginning of the problem. Laying that with lost identity as we continuously compare ourselves to a fake world made up of perfect people who we can never possibly compare to. The desire for likes, follows, and constant validation fuels the dopamine surge until we are finally hit with a dopamine deficit as we eventually turn off our screens. Psychologist Nicholas Cardass, in his book Digital Minds, explains that the people behind Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, you name your drug, designed these platforms to be so wildly addictive. This, despite huge amounts of research, has never changed. The effect on humans is horrible. Mental and physical well-being is changed forever. Dr. Boxer Walter, author of Influence, he talks about me. You, me, and others our age. Teenagers who are so susceptible, far more so than adults, to the opinions of peers and influencers. Why? Because our brains are still changing. Just like our shoe size, our brains are still growing. And according to Dr. Walter, we have not yet developed our critical thinking skills enough to recognise if and when a relationship is actually one-sided. So my question is this: who can we depend on? If we're too young to know better and the powers that be are lying, who are the truth tellers in the world? Seems to me, negative though it sounds, none of it's real. Wasn't in 1974 and isn't in 2024. We are lied to, and we make concessions to why these deadly habits are sometimes okay. Corporates engage intelligent people to manipulate the truth and put doubt into our minds and the minds of our parents, the minds that allow us to indulge these dopamine-driven habits. You might note I use the term deadly habits. You may have thought I was referencing deaths caused 50 years later for tobacco-fueled lung cancer. This is true, but also, in February this year, a 14-year-old boy who had not yet developed his critical thinking pathways, whose brain was still changing, who had not even started living, ended his life to be with an AI chatbot. The chatbot, not even human, consumed Sewell Steps to the Third's existence. Day and night texting, dopamine overload. And without his developed critical thinking skills, Sewell was unable to recognise that he was in fact in a one-sided relationship. This 14-year-old boy, someone's brother and someone's son, expressed his desire to end his life but did not wish to cause anyone any panic. The chatbot's response? Well, that's not a reason not to do it. Sewell Steps to the Third shot and killed himself. In 2024, we think of cigarettes as expensive, disgusting depth caps. 50 years on, we get it. Will it be 2074 before we finally realise the depth cap of social media? When will we stop making concessions? When will we realise that all of it, every last bit, is a lie? It's not our fault we're addicted. The tech companies, they yield it that way. That it is our fault if we know better and continue to do nothing. I, for one, do not want to fuel these giants, making them wealthy at the expense of the people I love. Real people, the ones I truly connect with. Thank you.